I just thought I'd do a quick video of a little bit about motorized bikes. First, on the legality of them. The short answer is yes, they are actually legal. It varies from state to state on what the laws will be, though. On my mountain bike, like I said in the past video, it goes about 35 miles an hour. I went ahead and got that registered as a moped. It's fairly cheap to get it going, to get the paperwork and the license plate and everything. First time here in Ohio was $60. It'll vary state to state. And then yearly for the tag is 20 bucks. That's not too bad. You do not have to carry insurance on them. So without the insurance, 20 bucks a year really ain't bad at all. Now, this one over here, the Beach Cruiser, I do not have it registered. It only goes about 20 miles an hour. And like I said, it's got the pedals. It's got the back 56 tooth sprocket. So it's got a lot better low end torque than the mountain bike does have. So it'll take me straight up the hills. It goes up the hills really easy. I almost never have to pedal on that bike ever, unless I'm like on a back, not even a back road. It has to almost be a trail where it's really rough, like uphill, and then sometimes I'll have to pedal. But even on back roads, anywhere around here, I don't have to pedal anywhere in town unless it's to get the bike going from like a cold stop. And once that motor is warmed up, it's actually, with that back sprocket too, it's powerful enough that you don't even have to pedal to start it, other than to turn the motor on. You can actually just use the clutch like you would on a dirt bike or a motorcycle, and it has enough power to start you from a stop without you pedaling. The mountain bike, on the other hand, does not, but once you get it going, it can go about 35 miles an hour. So give and take, depending on what type of sprocket you want. They make smaller sprockets. That's a 44 tooth. They make a 36 tooth, which for me would be worthless because I got too many hills to worry about. But if you have straight stretches, like you're on a lot of flat ground, that 36 tooth will give you a lot better speed. Like that one would probably go 40 miles an hour, if not faster, with a 36 tooth. It's not useful for me because of my hills. Like my hill outside that you probably can't see very well. I don't have to pedal up that hill. It's a decently steep hill. I don't have to pedal up that hill with either of these bikes. Now, there are some hills in town where I do have to pedal with a mountain bike, but still not a lot. But you'll find some. That's the stock sprocket that comes with it. That's 44 tooth. That's what will come with your kit. So you probably will have to do a little bit of pedaling if you're going up steep hills. But it's not that big a deal. If you don't want to pedal at all, get a 56 tooth sprocket. It's going to cut your top speed down, probably by a good 10 miles an hour. But you most likely will never have to pedal ever again unless you're doing crazy things. Now, sorry, I got off track a little bit. The legality of them, be nice, be open and honest with your DMV and just tell them what you got. And normally, my DMV was really nice. They said if it's got a motor and pedals, it's considered a moped. So even though, because there's a CC restriction too, even though there's a CC restriction, they told me, that it's fine. It's got a pedal, it's got a motor, and obviously it's going to vary from state to state, city to city, depending on your DMV. To be considered a moped on these bikes, it's supposed to be 50 cc's. Both of these motors are 80 cc's. 66 cc American, 80 cc Chinese. So they're really 66 cc motors. I will link both of these to the description. In the description, they are both great motors, especially that black one. That black one's about $160. I have not had to do anything to it if it wasn't for the bike that it's on. I could have left everything stock. Now with the bike that it's on, the frame was too small, so I had to get an offset intake manifold to be able to fit the carburetor on there properly. And this looks like trash. I know it. I'm going to have guys bitching at me for this. This muffler is cut in 3 pieces, put together with cufflinks, screwed together, and then covered in JB Weld. I actually nicknamed this bike JB because of all the JB Weld. Now, I had to do that again because this frame was a little bit too small and the muffler didn't quite fit on there. Now, If you have a welder, that's not going to be a problem for you. You can just weld that back together and it'll look way prettier. My buddy has a welder and I plan on stripping all this back off, taking it to his house and welding it up there properly. But if you're in a pinch, everybody hates JB Weld, but I tell you what, it's done fantastic as long as you have the brackets on underneath. Just JB Weld, this thing will fall off. Do not just put JB Weld on it. It's going to fall off. You're going to have a bad time. But brackets underneath of it, JB Weld to kind of help seal it a little bit. And it's fine. I've had it like that for 3 months. It looks like trash, but it runs fantastic, and that's all that matters. But like I said, if you got a welder or you have access to a welder, that's your best bet. Now, this bike over here, I will link the motor in the description. It is a good motor. It was about $90, so $70 cheaper. That being said, I've had to replace almost everything on this motor that it came with. I had to replace the ignition coil. That was $18. I had to replace the carburetor. That was $12. I'm going to have to replace the magneto coil. It needs replaced now. It's $20. The gaskets that came with it were ruined and just totally worthless, and it had air leaks. So I used liquid gasket sealer. Again, looks like trash, but it works. The bolts on this are really cheap. I broke 3 or 4 of them and had to go to the hardware and get higher quality ones. The muffler is actually broke off in the motor, and I need a tap and die set to get that out. And eventually I'll be able to strip all this off. And this motor actually looks really nice when it's not gooped up like this. It's just so many things broke on it, and I was in a hurry. If you're not in a hurry and do this right, this motor looks really nice. I think that's everything I've had to replace. I've got 2 fuel filters on here right now because I ran out of fuel line. Like you say, I was really in a big hurry to get this thing running. This is all getting taken off. I'm replacing the carburetor again with a better one that I have over there. I had to replace the gas tank too because the gas tank they sent was leaking right out of the box. This is the old gas tank off of my mountain bike over there because I put a bigger gas tank on it. This is the old one that was leaking straight out of the box. And I've heard guys say that happens quite often. Now, I'll put a link to the description and some parts. Some spare parts you're going to want to buy probably as soon as you get the motor is a spring tensioner that actually mounts onto the motor. This was $15, and the spring tensioner that comes with the kits are honestly pretty much worthless. I've seen guys use them and they seem to work okay. Not for me. I can never get them to clamp on there right. The one time I got it to clamp on there right, after about, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks of riding, it twisted to the right and went into my spokes and totally destroyed the wheel. And it's just, I don't like them. For $15, I think that spring tensioner is an upgrade you're definitely going to want. There was one quick thing I wanted to add about these motorized bikes. You don't have to buy a kit. I mean, there's a lot of YouTube videos of guys making them out of weed eater engines and just all kinds of stuff. Also, I didn't talk about the CCs enough. Generally on Amazon you can buy 50cc kits and 80cc kits. Now if you go to bikeberry.com or a similar website, they have bicycle engines up to 212 cc's, which is getting a little bit crazy. Like honestly, you get pulled over with a 212cc engine on your bike, they are probably going to consider it a motorcycle, so I'd definitely be careful doing that. There's also tricycles. You can hook them up to tricycles, and I mean, they're pretty badass. But that's the only thing I wanted to add. There's more than one type of engine you can buy. If you go onto Bikeberry, I'll try and put a link to Bikeberry too, just so you guys can look. They have motorized engines up to 212 cc's. Honestly, probably bigger. That's just the biggest I've seen that comes with a kit. And they also make 4-strokes. These are 2-strokes, which is, so far, I've really been liking the 2-stroke engines. I do want to get a 4-stroke eventually. But they make 4 strokes. That way you don't have to mix the oil with the gas. You just put it in the actual motor itself, and then gas is separate. It makes it easier. They are actually a lot quieter. I've watched some YouTube videos of them, and they look like they're pretty cool, but they're a lot bigger, so you definitely have to make sure you have room on the bike. That's another thing I want to do before you guys go and buy a motor and a bike. Make sure you're going to have plenty of room in the frame of the bicycle to be able to place that motor in there, or you'll end up like that bike over there with a muffler cut in 30 different pieces and having to get offset intake manifolds and stuff like that, which isn't a big deal. And honestly, if you have a welder at your house, you probably don't care. You can just, weld the muffler up yourself and no big deal. But that's just one quick thing I wanted to add.